Welcome to the Opportunity Podcast, where entrepreneurs come to learn from real buyers, sellers, and industry experts on the lesser-known growth opportunities to build their online business empires. We'll uncover tactics veteran online business entrepreneurs have used to build, buy, flip, and sell their way towards personal wealth. Sit back, grab a coffee, and get ready to uncover hidden growth secrets. The Opportunity Podcast starts now.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Opportunity Podcast, your go-to resource for hidden growth opportunities throughout online business. For those familiar or new to the podcast, I'm Sarah, and thanks for joining me today. In today's episode, we're joined by Quinn Zeda, founder of Conversion Crimes, a user testing platform that helps online business owners improve user experience and increase conversions. Quinn explains why user testing is a fast and affordable way for businesses to optimize their website conversion rates. She discusses what sets user testing apart from other CRO methods and reveals some of the common mistakes that people make when trying to optimize their site's usability. Quinn also gives us a behind-the-scenes look at what it's like to build a SaaS business from scratch and some of the obstacles she had to overcome on the road to success. And then as an added bonus, we even get into the mystery of rage clicks and what puts consumers over the edge. So you don't want to miss out on this one. If you're searching for ways to reduce your site's bounce rate and improve customer satisfaction, these user testing insights may be the answer you've been looking for. Let's get started. Hey everyone. Welcome back to the Opportunity Podcast. So we've got a really awesome guest on today's episode, Quinn Zeda. So Quinn, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, good to have you on. So I'm loving that I get to talk to a fellow digital nomad. So I'm really curious to ask, where are you in the world right now?
Yeah, I'm in Playa del Carmen, Mexico right now. It's been a good time here. I've been traveling for like 10 years as a nomad. So I was kind of craving to settle down a little bit for a while. So thank you, pandemic.
Okay, so have you been there like whole pandemic, basically?
Yeah, pretty much. I'd come here for like 2 months. And then as soon as I got here, like the lockdown kind of happened. So,
and boom.
All right.
Yeah, we've got a bunch of sales team there right now. And it's funny because it's the same people that have been hanging around there for probably like a year. And I asked one of them, I was like, so Playa, like what's going on? Like, why are you hanging out there? And he's like, it's cozy. I was like, okay. Cozy. I like it. Like, it's not the word I was expecting. He's like, it just works. So I'm glad you found a place that works and is maybe cozy. But hey, there's tacos. So kind of like, what else do you need, right?
Yeah, those tacos are delicious. There's like a whole taco WhatsApp group. It's pretty funny.
That makes me really want some tacos. A taco WhatsApp group. That's awesome. Okay. Well, I'd love to know a little bit about your story. I'm sure after 10 years of traveling, a lot's gone down. So walk me through it. I understand that you bootstrapped your first business right out of college. How did you go from that to getting into this online business journey, and what led you to a career focused in what is eventually now user testing?
Yeah, I started my first business out of college, which was pretty much like freelancing design and stuff for more like corporate-y kind of clients. So yeah, I kind of built that up, started hiring like freelancers to help me, and it just kind of naturally kind of evolved to more like strategic user experience, because I realized like if I could tie design to real business results, there was no longer a cap on what people would pay me to do that work. Because when people are buying like design work, they have an idea of how much that will cost or how much they're willing to pay for it. But if you tie it into like a real business result, you can justify the ROI on that, and then it becomes kind of an investment. So that kind of started to move me into the agency, where we started to help like $1 to $5 million businesses scale. So what would happen is you have these entrepreneurs that start businesses, and as we all know, we like duct tape everything together, and it ends up being kind of this chaotic mess. But like one day you wake up and you're like, wow, I have like a multi-million-dollar business, and we found product market fit, and we've got all these customers, but who we are today is no longer like represented by our website and our stuff. So that's when we would kind of come in and redesign it, go through like customer interviews, customer research, their analytics, their operations, their P&L, find the most profitable customer, help them with like pricing. And then we would kind of launch this new website branding and that sort of thing. And user testing was a part of our process that we used. And every time we used it with clients, it was the one thing that they always talked about because it kind of gave them this aha moment. Like, you know what your site looks like, how to use your software, like what are the benefits and all of this thing, but you don't know what it looks like to someone for the first time. So you kind of provide them this moment where they're like, oh yeah, okay, I knew that, but I guess like they didn't understand that. So how can I make that more clear or what have you? And so at the agency, we could only help like a few clients. Like we only did like one major project per year for a big client. It was like so much mind space that the max we could probably do is like two. So I wanted to kind of help more businesses and create like a more scalable business. So kind of getting this feedback about user testing that was just part of our agency process, and kind of realized that it was kind of like the 80-20 of results for like user experience, just like understanding how people use your website, what they interpret, and then focusing on those pinpoints was just an easier and more effective way to get it done. So that's kind of like the journey that kind of got us here.
I like what you were saying about the businesses, they kind of duct tape the stuff together. Digital duct tape? I don't know. You digital duct tape your business together. All of a sudden, you've got this multi-million-dollar business and you're like, how did I get here? I'm successful. What happened? Especially probably complicated much more so with the pandemic. I'm sure you're having to help a lot of people who are just like, how, what? I was so curious hearing your story. You're talking about this journey from agency to now I understand you're kind of more into like the SaaS model with your business, Conversion Crimes. Can you just kind of walk me through what you're doing with Conversion Crimes and what inspired you to take that risk to start from square one all over again and in a new business model nonetheless?
I was naive. I don't know. I didn't know what I was getting into. Like, I remember when I was just like, well, it kind of, I wanted to do my own thing, right? Like, I've worked for clients all these years and I made them like millions and millions of dollars, but I don't have $1 million in the bank account, So it's like, I really wanted to build something I could own and then wasn't necessarily trading time for money. So back in the day, like usertesting.com, they had this product called Peak, and that's kind of what I was using. And then they shut it down. And then there was like really no solution for me. So I was like, oh, let me just create this thing in like a month. And like, build this thing, 3 years later.
Yep.
Yeah. So it was like, I was running the agency and trying to build this project on the side. So it was like kind of we were picking it up and putting it down, picking it up, putting it down. And it was really, really frustrating. So when the pandemic happened, I was already kind of in the space of being frustrated of like, I really want to work on this full time. How can I make this work? And then when the pandemic happened, it's like, okay, well, at my agency, we were selling these projects for like, multi six figures. At this point, this Black Swan event, I don't know if anybody's going to pay us that anymore. Like, there were like spending freezes on everything, and nobody was going to make a big investment like that, just given this like black box that was kind of going on. So I kind of came to a point where it was like, okay, do I put all of my energy into pivoting the agency and like kind of taking what we've done and creating, less expensive product, like productizing it more or what have you, or I could just kind of YOLO and go all in on Conversion Crimes. So yeah, I just kind of got to that point of frustration. And I kind of believe that when you put all of your energy into something, like it just, the universe kind of listens to that and things just kind of start happening, which is kind of what happened for us.
It's interesting because like the way you're talking about it, I'd imagine in some ways there's like, it's a blessing and a curse, right? A lot of the stuff in the pandemic, but you're talking about how that 1 month turned into 3 years. Well, I feel like there's this new sense of time called pandemic time where 3 years might as well be a month and vice versa. Like we just don't know anymore. We're just kind of existing in this weird space-time continuum. But I'd imagine like maybe that it's kind of like being forced maybe in a good way to have your back against the wall and be like, right, okay, I kind of have no choice but to go, do I take this path here or do I go there? Do I start something new? And I think had we been in normal times, maybe it could have been a little bit more difficult, right? To start that new thing. Cause it's like, why break it if it isn't broken? Or why fix it if it's broken? See, I can't even talk anymore because I'm just gonna, it's the pandemic. It's pandemic brain. But you know what I mean? Like, you're like, okay, it's a black swan event. Do I shift my whole everything? Kind of go with the flow? I don't know. Maybe I'm making this up and totally projecting on you, but
There was an energy, like even though my life personally did not change that much, like we're used to remote work, we're used to like this online
yeah.
thing. But for a lot of the world, it completely shifted their day to day life.
Yeah.
And also, there's that energy of people like rethinking things. Now, like the whole employment work culture has changed in the States, right? And so there was this kind of energy kind of going around of this shift. And I felt that and it was actually really funny. Around this time, I was having a conversation with Tommy Joyner. I don't know if you know him.
Mm-mm.
And he was just like, well, what if you could just get in a little bit of trouble with your agency clients for like a month and just 100% work on conversion crimes? Like, what would that look like? And I was like, you
Interesting.
know what? I'm going to do it. I was like, I can't take the team off that kind of client stuff, but I'm going to take myself off. And once I made that shift and I was like, okay, I'm only going to work on conversion crimes this month, like there was no turning back. I like literally couldn't go back.
Wow. But how incredible. I mean, it's good. I think it's obviously a good in the sense like you've landed in this whole new space and you've just got this, new chapter taking off. I did want to talk to you about that because, I mean, we're talking the world of SaaS
Mm-hmm.
and it was this whole new business model. I know you were saying like the ability to create something that could scale in the way the agency couldn't. There's opportunity there, but I mean, why SaaS? Personally, me as an outsider, like I see SaaS and maybe just being a non-technical person, I'm like, oh God, that sounds like a lot of work.
Yes.
Maybe you tell me otherwise. So why'd you go this route versus your kind of world of familiarity?
Yeah, with the agency, it's like while we had like systems and processes, and there's definitely like a system to that creative work, it's trading time for money at the end of the day. I guess that part is not kind of scalable. And where I find the most pleasure is I kind of see SaaS as like a machine. And sure, it does take a lot of work and energy and time to get all those gears and the machine kind of kickstarted and working. But once it starts like moving, it's all about levers. And it's just like, okay, like you can look at it as a whole and be like, okay, these things are working. Here's like where I should focus on. This is not. And when you like push that lever up, then it's like it grows and it's like a machine. And once you do that work, it just builds on itself. So I was just really excited about that. I love playing with like levers and stuff. And I also love scaling things. I'm really good at kind of taking things and improving them. That's why like going back to the agency, it was like we helped these businesses that found like their product market fit, multi-million, and then kind of helping them rebuild a foundation to then kind of scale, which is really, really exciting for me. So, but yeah, I didn't think I realized how hard it is in the beginning.
No, but that naivete that you're talking about, it
Yeah.
can be your best friend because if you knew what you knew now, you might not have taken a leap, right? And I think that's a lot of entrepreneurs. It's like, oh my God, if I saw, where I'd be in a year, like, a year ago, I might not have done it. But
Yeah.
ultimately, you have something to thank yourself for even taking that leap. I guess speaking
Yeah, I
of,
had no idea. No idea.
no idea.
I think about some of the things I was thinking like a year ago, and I'm like, oh, wow, how delusional was that?
Personally, I think I've done that a lot in my life. And somehow I feel like I have the best energy and ability to tackle the new stuff when you just don't know what you don't know. And then
Hmm.
when you get past that point and you do know, you're just like, how did I even do any of that? And I think it's the power of not knowing is the only thing that pushes you through, if that makes any sense. But I think there really is like a special liminal space. And you just kind of have to take advantage of it if you want to make that shift sometimes.
Exactly.
Like, I guess speaking of, talking about not knowing what you don't know, obstacles. I'm so curious about this because this is, I'm sure there's a lot of SaaS hopefuls out there or people who are already in the SaaS space and they're listening to you and they're like, yep, preaching to the choir here. Let's talk about those obstacles so that everyone can join in and just totally commiserate with you. What were they? How did you overcome them? And walk me through that process.
Yeah, there were a couple of things. So I think the first one was about mindset. So in the agency, there's a fixed set of deliverables and a fixed timeline for this amount of money. So there's kind of this process and just like this calm nature to it. Whereas when you go to a SaaS, it's more like an infinite to do list that never ends and you can never actually accomplish. So it becomes about like ruthless prioritization because you are kind of fighting against a clock and a runway and a timeline and things like that. And so that was kind of the biggest thing that I struggled with. It was absolutely overwhelming. So it required, building a different process and a different way of working. And I just didn't see that coming into it. The other thing was probably I'm a non-tech founder, so I know enough development to be dangerous, but
I mean, that sounds pretty good to me.
I can go in there and hack the things. I can't write it from scratch unless it's like basic HTML, CSS, but I can understand enough to like modify it and get the things that I need to get done. What I didn't realize is the amount of backend functionality that is required, probably specifically for conversion crimes. But I remember like going back to that thing, it was like, oh man, I was so delusional. Is we built kind of the front end of conversion crimes. Like the core functionality worked, but it was also a little bit of a facade. So on the back end, there were so many things that were manual. So even like a small amount of customers actually like put us over capacity.
Wow.
Because we were doing all of this back end kind of work. I mean, for example, we didn't have like, the tests come in and they have to go through like QA. There were like no processes or anything about how to manage the back end because it's not just a simple SaaS and software. There's actually real people that deliver our product. And I didn't realize the amount of kind of functionality and admin that they needed. So that kind of hit me. That was a big obstacle because there was this huge development thing that needed to get done that I had no idea even needed to get done. So I felt a bit blindsided by that. In addition to kind of the agency to SaaS mindset, it was incredibly overwhelming to have both of these things kind of happen at the same time. So yeah, kind of going into that, it was just I was a huge bottleneck and very unrealistic expectations about what was possible and what could get done. And I kind of felt like a little bit of a failure at first because it was just overwhelming. And it's like, well, I can't possibly actually get any of these done. So it wasn't like a failure at all. It just felt that way.
Yeah. I'm sure so many people listening to this are just like, one, appreciating, I think, your honesty about it and being like, understanding so many of us actually end up like inadvertently being the bottleneck that we never wanted to be. I can identify with this. And you're talking about that never ending to-do list. That is something I've had to learn, at least in the world of marketing, and had many late nights, probably talking to Greg, director of marketing. And he's just like, the list doesn't end. I'm like, what do you mean it doesn't end? It just doesn't. It just keeps piling up. And that is the reality that you have, and that's it. And it's tough. It really is tough. Like, and the fact that you did both at the same time, I want to say hats off to you. Kudos, because that's no small feat.
Yeah. It was hard and a little bit frustrating because there were things about like our UX that were like really embarrassing, but I was just like, I can't actually fix this yet. And it's like, you want to fix things for customers. So anyways.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's, I guess in that same vein, because you had these issues you're facing, and then you're kind of doing a lot of the personal stuff at the same time. So both are kind of hand in hand happening all at once. Sounds like a ton. But what are the lessons that you learned along the way as this blossoming SaaS founder? What are the things you wish you knew from the beginning?
Yeah, so during this time, I was also like dabbling in the world of investments as well and trying to figure out kind of the right path. So there's like this VC path, like kind of growth at all costs. And then there's like this kind of emerging trend of like calm companies that's like, no, just build a profitable, sustainable business. And you don't have to go for broke, unicorn or bust kind of thing. So I had these two like different perspectives kind of also coming at me during this time. And it was really kind of difficult to navigate. And there was a lot of kind of pressure from that, in addition to kind of these things that I was dealing with. So it kind of felt like I can't take time off, or I can't do these things. And so I was just working really, really hard and not really taking care of my own like mental space, if that makes sense. So
Yeah.
it was like kind of constantly pushing and feeling like I couldn't take a break. But then when I would take a break, it's just kind of, wow, like this problem I've been working on for like 2 months just came to me in like 2 hours. Like what's up with that,
Yeah.
And I think it was just like making sure you take enough space and breaks, because you're working on like a really big problem, and the only way you can really truly like think through that is by giving yourself space to do that. I'd say that was probably one of the biggest ones.
Yeah, I mean, that's huge. You just mentioned three major things happening and coinciding all at once. Not to mention, there was that small pandemic thing happening. So, yeah, it sounds like you had a lot on your plate and your hands full. Again,
Yeah. And so like as a result of that, it was like, oh, I need someone, I need help, I need to like hire, I need to do these things. And so I made the biggest mistake of all, which is like skipping steps in my hiring process, because once you hire someone, it takes time to kind of maybe discover that they weren't the right fit or something like that, where it's like, oh, if I didn't skip that step in the hiring process, I would have seen that. So you kind of think you're getting ahead by moving quicker on that stage, but really it kind of set you, like later with time, you realize that it actually set you behind.
yeah, that's such a big one. And I really do appreciate you saying that, because I know people listening to this, so many things that you've mentioned and these challenges and these lessons, like I think they're universal, but not everyone can almost know the way to articulate them or to say, like that's the thing that broke during that time when lots of things were happening at once. I didn't even know like what, when X caused Y, and it was a calamity. How did I get through
Yeah.
that? So no, it's cool. I think there's a lot of value in sharing those things, and people can go, all right, okay, take lessons from this. I'll know this from next time. And it sounds like you're doing the same. And it's, to maybe jump ahead a bit, I understand like where you've now landed with conversion crimes. It sounds like things might be a little bit more settled and things are coming to fruition.
Yes, like so I've been working on this like investment memo thing, and it's like kind of taking a look at all of the numbers and stuff, and it's like, whoa, we made a lot of progress. Wow.
Wow.
It's like when you're in it day to day, a lot of times you can't really see the forest for the trees. So it's been really good to like step back and look at the progress from, 1,000 birds view or whatever you say.
Yeah.
Bird's eye view, there we go, and kind of look down and say like, okay, yeah, like you can really see the progression, and now like things are so much more calmer, the team is working really well together now. And like when I look at it just even a couple months ago or 6 months ago, man, it was a lot more chaotic. So it's kind of a little bit of a slow burn that you don't really see day to day, but then when you like take a step back and look, you're like, dang, there's some really good stuff going on here.
Oh, it's got to be such a good feeling.
Yeah, it's really exciting.
All that happening. Okay, that's awesome. That's fantastic. Well, and again, congrats. I don't even think I said that yet.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Well, so I did want to talk about like the nuts and bolts of what you're doing at Conversion Crimes, because I think there's a lot that we could all learn from your expertise and what you're offering, especially because we don't always get to talk about this subject. So I was wondering, and I'll be honest, I think this is like half for even my benefit. Define user testing for those like myself who might not be familiar with what that encompasses.
Yeah, so pretty much user testing is seeing how someone experiences your product, software, store, whatever for the first time. So what we do is we send people that are in your target market to your product while recording their screen. And we give them different prompts. Like, you land on this website, like, what's your first impression? What do you think it's about? What kind of quality do you think this product is? And they answer that. So sometimes they're like way off, and you're like, wait, how do they understand that? And you understand that you're like, your positioning is off. Or they're like, I'm going to click on this button because like I expect to see this over here. And they click on it and they're like, oh, wait, why did you send me to like a Facebook group? Like I thought I was going to get more information on your like whatever, right? So it's really just kind of understanding, like being inside someone's head as they're going to your website or your store or whatever for the first time, and understanding like what they understand, what they're frustrated by, what they're confused by. And this just helps you get intelligence that helps you make changes. Like with a lot of things, it's, as a user experience professional, you can go in and be like, yeah, on these sites, here's like these things. But I'm also not the target market, and target market uses things in many different kinds of ways. So it's a way for you to understand that better.
Yeah, I mean, it's so interesting to hear that because I'm sure take for granted when I am shopping for products, the work that went into make my experience a whole lot better. Other people actually contributing to that user testing in a way that I just got the easy end. I just got to have a really good experience.
Yeah, the more simple and easy something is to do, the longer it took to design it.
That's such a powerful point. Again, it's just so easy to take for granted, truly. I mean, I'm curious because I think, so let's say there's some people out there who are like, hey, I'm listening to this, and surely if I just track my metrics well enough, I can identify any problems,
Mm-hmm.
I guess to take it a step further, talk to me about like the secrets that user testing might reveal that data just can't explain.
Yeah, so if you look at like your analytics, Hotjar, like kind of stuff like this, it'll be like people are clicking here but not here. Or people are like you watching those like click videos and you're like seeing them like scramble around on the screen or like rage click stuff or like whatever. And you're like, okay, they're doing this thing, but why are they doing this thing? Like, what is their motivation behind it? Like, what are they looking for? Like, why are they rage clicking that? Why are they clicking on this button but not this other one? Right. And so that's really what user testing reveals for you. So it's like, I'm rage clicking on this button because like this reason, or, I'm clicking on this because I'm looking to find out, what kind of material this shirt is made out of because I care about X, So it's kind of giving you that why behind the data. And when you understand the why, what's motivating people or what's like causing friction for them, then it's really easy to understand how to make a change or improvement on your website to solve that problem.
It's funny you mentioned rage clicking. Rage clicking cracks me up. We were doing some heat mapping stuff and, just kind of going through and it's like, right, here's where the rage clicks were happening. And to me, I still can't wrap my head around it. I don't even know if there's an answer for rage clicks, but do you happen to know anything? How do you explain rage clicks?
Yeah, it's frustration. So there's this website. I totally trolled my testers when I did this. So it's called User in Your Face, like YER. And it's basically the opposite of a good user experience.
Okay.
So it's like everything you think the way it works, it's like the opposite. So I ran like a test on this and I sent it to my testers, and there's so much rage clicking in there. They're like, why won't it close? Like, they're just like, and it's just really, really funny to see their reactions to it. It'll be like, click here to go to the next stage, but like, it'll say click. And the click will be underlined and look like a link, but here will be like regular text. And you actually have to click on here to go to the next stage, but it doesn't actually look like a link. So they're like doing all this random stuff that's breaking like these design conventions. And yeah, so they're just like raging on it. It's really like frustration. Like they want to do something and they can't do it. And they're frustrated by that. So they just like rage click the thing. Like, just give it to me. Give me what I want.
So funny. I really have to look at myself in the mirror and like ask myself a tough question. It's like, when's the last time you rage clicked? Like, are you a rage clicker? It's so funny because I think we were looking at our heat maps, but we're talking about things that it was like rage clicks happened on a place that wasn't meant to have functionality. It's just an article. Like, I don't know. That to me is what confuses me. It's like, why did they go to that one spot? Who did that? Why? I sometimes think
like,
that
just right off the top, it's like, does it look like a link or button? So it's like they're rage clicking it because they expect that it's a button or a link, and it's not, and they want it. So it's like if people are rage clicking there and it's saying like, okay, let me make that clickable then.
Yeah. I think I'll have to like actually look back. I think it was just this one example where it was almost like white space in the article. It wasn't really anything. I think it was just somebody want to rage click. It was a bizarre, no one knew.
Hey, let's go mess with everyone's Hotjar and heat map things. So let's just go to these websites and just rage click on things.
Who knows? Maybe that's what it was. Maybe it's just someone was like, you know what I'm going to do today? I'm going to really mess with someone's heat map. There's probably someone out there doing that, actually. I'm sure that's a thing. That's awesome. Well, thank you. You've enlightened me into like this deep question that has just been living in my head. So I appreciate that. So talk to me about like, key areas you're focusing on when you're testing website. Would you say websites and apps, are they vastly different from each other when it comes to user testing?
I mean, it's all the same core principle, right? Somebody's using the thing and they're recording their experience. As far as like what we focus on, it's testing is really, it's only limited by your imagination. So it's like if you were unsure how your value proposition is resonating, well, let me just ask them, like, what do you think this is? What's your first impression? Like, get that answer. Like for you, you're like, I want to find out all people are rage clicking here. So you can set like tasks. So part of user testing is setting like these steps that you want people to go through in these like prompts. So it's like, what do you think this is? Then like, what's the first thing you want to do? Or you want to sign up for and try this product out. Like, where would you go to do that? To kind of get the intelligence that you want. So I usually try to think of it as like, what are the problems in the business right now? Okay, we have all these support requests and all these requests and support asking the same question. Like, why are people asking me what color my backpacks come in on my store when it's clearly on the product page? Like, why are they not finding that? Why are they reaching out to support to do that? You can write a test to find that answer. So really, like, all tests are very different. Even we've actually had customers start using it to test their Amazon listings. So they're like, here's a picture of a product. Like, how would you search for this on Amazon? Okay, like, and then have them try to find it. Which ones stand out to you? And really kind of understanding that buyer process. Like, are they finding my product? Or are they looking at competitors' ones? Which ones are they looking at? So it just really depends on like what kind of business problems are kind of coming up for you and what do you want to know? Because you can get answers for literally like anything.
It's so interesting you say that. I mean, even this is my mind kind of wandering to a place of like, if you have testers on your site and they keep asking for something that you think is clearly stated on your product page. It's like, surely the way they rage click, do you just get rage results? Or you're like, why? I'm upset that you can't see what I'm putting out there. But I mean, clearly that's where you're coming in and demystifying it, which I think is great. But yeah, it's got to.
Oh, sometimes it's kind of like watching like a football game or something on TV, right? You're like screaming at the team, like, throw the ball, just like, or like whatever. You'll be like, okay, people in support, we have a financing program, but they keep asking us how much the payments, right? So we'll be like, in the test, we'll be like, okay, like, you want to see if you can finance this and you want to know like how much the payments are. Can you find out that information? And their mouse will literally be on the answer. And they're like, I can't find it. It's nowhere to be found on this website. What's going on here? And you're like, your mouse is on the answer. Like, click it.
That sounds like a drinking game. Like, probably has to be sometimes just to even get through that situation and be like, will they click? Will they click?
Yeah.
Okay, that's awesome. It's just so interesting to hear your perspective on that and it's like you have so much power to be able to see the back end, and yet you can't make the action you want happen. You just have to keep tweaking things until they get there. So that's fascinating to hear about. Not really something, again, take it for granted, right? Like the fact that everything worked today on whatever sites I went to was somebody like you in the background going, please just click there. Please.
Just click the thing. I made it bold for you.
You have to use your eyes. That's what they're for. You have to see it. It's right there. It makes me think about mistakes, right? Because it's like, okay, you've got a lot of people and they're like, I swear to God, I am optimizing this site. It is usable, right? And you're like, no, there has to be common mistakes that people are making that just they totally get in their own way. They're not making their site as usable as it can be. What might those be?
Yeah, so we had one customer that they ran a test and it was like they were bringing traffic through like a blog post. And then when they got there, it was like nobody like understood that it was actually a store.
Wow.
So it was like, man, we've been doing all this stuff, like A/B testing, all of these things. And all we had to do is watch someone go through it and realize they don't even know we're a store. Like that never even crossed like our minds.
Wow.
So it's just like kind of silly things.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. Like it's so funny what you feel like is a given. You're just not going to know what is not a given until you watch them go through it, which again is kind of makes it so powerful what you're doing. I guess in the sense of we're talking about the power and the difference it can make. Can you tell me a little bit about like ROI? What kind of ROI have you witnessed in businesses that utilize proper testing and implemented insights from their results?
Yeah, so it varies like all over the map. It really depends on your specific business, kind of the business problems you're having. Like we've had tests where they come back and their major insight is nobody understands what we do. We need to work on clarifying our value proposition and making this copy more clear. Other times it's like testers didn't understand how to use a filters on a store, so they couldn't find what they were looking for. So this customer in particular worked on redesigning their filters, and immediately they got like a 1.9 to 3.9% increase in conversion, like within a week of implementing that. Another one had found some kind of issue on their checkout when they had like a financing option with their store. They're selling like high-end consumer electronics. And when they submitted the financial kind of application, it was sending the information wrong back to the store. So there was an error. And this was found. And as soon as they fixed that, it was like, I can't remember the exact, it was like 0.67 to like 1.5 increase in conversion or something like that. So there's like these like crazy things that you can find in there that just have this massive impact. A lot of things are smaller things. And I really love the book by Atomic Habits by James Clear, where he talks about this continuous improvement and about how these like tiny habits compound over time. So if you do it every day for a year, that's 37x. Improvement when it just was like just 1% better every day. So a lot of times you may get like 4 or 5 like really tiny tweaks that you can make. Maybe it only increased conversions, 0.1% or 0.01% or whatever. But as you do these through a flow and a process, they compound on each other. So maybe you got 0.05% more to click like the sign up button. Then once they click sign up, there's something on the form where you got like, I don't know, a 10% increase in conversion or something like that. Those are going to add up because it's compounding, right? Over each step, you're getting more and more people through each next stage of the funnel and steps they need to go to get to the end goal to convert. Sometimes you're just getting insights about the market and, okay, they think this, so let's go in and change this copy to be this thing. So it's all over the map and it wildly varies.
Yeah, I mean, I love that mention of Atomic Habits. It's so easy to really not see the progress you're making, even with that 1% you're saying. But like when you put in the perspective of 37x, okay, I'm starting to realize the power of this user testing and making those tweaks and making things a little bit easier, reducing things like support requests, which I'm sure most businesses, understand what the ROI might be for that, for their models. So yeah, no, it's fascinating to hear about. Like, I'm curious, like in light of all this and everything that you are putting together for your clients, like where would you say your business and Conversion Crimes is headed? What are the growth opportunities within the SaaS space, for example, that you plan to maybe take advantage of?
Yeah, I think that it's expanding beyond what just user testing is and being more of a customer experience platform. Kind of what I'm realizing is with small businesses and stuff, enterprises, they have all kinds of tools and resources and things. They have entire departments dedicated to customer experience, user experience, like all of this sort of things. But small businesses don't really have that. They've got a lot of fires to put out. They've got a lot of things to do. They've got a lot of things on their plate. And so it's about kind of following this like James Clear, Atomic Habits. Like what are some habits that we can and processes that we can create for small businesses where this is easy and effortless? Not just like user testing and kind of like doing this stuff, but like customer experience as a whole, because that's where the industry is really moving. The people are not the people, but the businesses that have the best customer experiences are the ones that win. And so you have these enterprise companies that can put all of this money, spend like hundreds of thousands of dollars a year on this kind of stuff, and teams who's like a person that's like job is to do this stuff. And so going back to the Atomic Habits, like what are the tiny habits that we can do every month that's just like a couple hours that can build results over time and kind of build in these processes into businesses. And it's not just about like kind of the testing. Like one of the things that's kind of come up in testing for us is just seeing patterns in all these tests on all these different sites. There's so much about social proof. So it's like, well, how can I automate social proof for a business? How can I make that easy? So I spent like a day setting this thing up, and now we get testimonials in, and I just like go in and I click the thing, and it automatically gets added to the website. I don't even have to ask anyone. I just set it up in the email sequences. So I think for us, it's like creating like a methodology, a process for these kind of businesses where they can get these outsized results like the big enterprise companies are. So that's kind of where I'm at, kind of thinking about right now.
No, I love that. I mean, it really is. It's so easy to say, like, I focused on this one solution. However, that one solution is so much bigger than that, and that everything is so interconnected. You can't help but to have a holistic approach to a business to really help it, move forward. Like, it's kind of like your own personal health, for example. Like, if one thing's broken, it's all going to be broken. You really have to like really work on fixing those things for things to be fluid and for things to actually grow and to scale. I think that's powerful. Like, that's a really powerful solution that you are offering to businesses, that it could be that thing that's like really keeping them in place. If they could just shift, like you're talking about, boom, new world. So
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. Like for a lot of small businesses, I mean, this is why people hired us at my ex agency. I don't know what to call it, past agency, whatever, Zeta Labs, is that they would hire us for this like one-time project to do like all this research and do all these things and make all these insights. And they use that for their marketing. But I was like, I had a full-time person on that thing for 3 months,
Hmm.
like to do that. Not just one person, but like probably one and a half on that. And it's like it's a one-off project that you do, costs like a lot of money, and so I just think you can get just as good results doing it incrementally. And so that's kind of what I'm trying to figure out.
Awesome. No, it's cool. I mean, this has been a lot of fun learning about all these different kind of solutions you're putting together, your own story. I'm having a blast. I did want to shift gears because kind of getting towards the end of the episode, I've got a couple rapid fire questions if you're cool with that.
Let's go.
Awesome. Which I'll warn you, sometimes they end up, people want to go deeper with these, and because they're kind of deep questions. Like, I don't know, I shouldn't put them as rapid fire questions. I'm not serving anybody by doing this. But so first one, what are the best hidden growth opportunities within user testing?
Like I was kind of talking about earlier, it's different for every website. And it's just about kind of creating a habit of understanding your experience and making those small changes and small improvements over time. And sometimes you're going to hit a big one and it's going to be game changing. So, yeah, I don't know if that's the answer for you.
No, I think that's a great answer. I mean, anything that can give you that, like that aha moment. I remember you saying earlier in the
hmm
interview, I think that's what everyone's after. It's quite hard to find.
Yeah, and I think it's also about like it's kind of the 80-20, like you have to
Mm,
be kind of know what you're doing to get insights from analytics. Like what does that mean? How do I derive something from this? Whereas with testing, it's just like anybody can watch a video.
right.
Anybody can like hear what they're saying and understand the problem. So
Yeah. Well, I guess in that same vein, talk to me about tools or resources that people can use to help optimize their site and, say, app for usability.
yeah, so it kind of depends on like where you're at, but you can totally just go to, your friends, ask them like to look at your site, give you feedback, random people in a coffee shop. We just built a free tool called Scout where you can get one free test result per month. We did that to help people kind of set up that habit of incremental improvement. But you can totally use this in any other ways too. You can email your customer, ask them to make you a Loom video, say like, hey, will you show me how you look for things on my site or this sort of thing. So you can totally DIY it and kind of get it done.
I like that. That's cool. I like kind of range of options there. Well, my final question, and probably the hardest one of the whole interview, what has been your funniest moment working in the world of SaaS?
I guess it has to do a little bit with our product in the sense of, our product is getting these videos from people that are, in their own home, their own environment. So they're a lot more open about what they'll say and a little bit honest. So we've had some really, really funny moments come up in videos. One in particular that I'm kind of thinking of is that one of our customers asked us to do a test with their actual customer. And I didn't realize how like not tech savvy they were. So they couldn't use our platform. There's a little bit like of a sign up thing. So it's like, oh, just like turn on your like phone camera, and like do this thing. So they were like doing it. And I was like, okay, so you've been a customer of the store for this time. Like, is there anything like you want to see on this website or any kind of products they don't have? And they literally take the video and they walk to their closet and they start pulling out all these clothes from like competitors. Like, I like this for this. I want to see this on it. And then she starts pulling out her lingerie and all this stuff and is like putting it on the bed and showing me. And she's like, they need to have lingerie on this website. Like,
Yes.
like this, and this. And I was just like, oh my God, I can't believe this person is doing this, talking to me about this.
Awesome.
But it was a really good insight for the customer because they're like, oh, now I know what products my customers like want to see on our store. They love our style. They love this. They're buying it for this reason, but they also want it for this other reason. And so that's like an opportunity for them.
Get the people their lingerie. They're asking for it. If you take away anything from this interview, leave with that. No, that's
I guess
awesome.
the other funny thing is, man, how people make money online.
Yes.
Like, because I see all these like random businesses.
Yes.
So yeah, I don't know if it's not safe for work, maybe. Some of the stuff that's come up.
We know. I feel like that's been the general consensus, I think, for most people on the podcast is you just see the range of what's available on the internet and the ways to make money. And majority of it, it's like, well, I want to tell you, but I can't share it on the podcast. It's like, I think there's a mutual understanding. Fair enough. That's awesome. Yeah. I love it. Well, Quinn, this has been such a blast hearing your stories. I'm super stoked for you and everything you're doing with Conversion Crime. Seriously, congrats. Doing everything you did in the midst of just a crazy time period. Thank you so much for sharing and with our audience today and kind of opening the curtain back saying, hey, here's what's going on. And this is my story. I've really loved it. Seriously.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. And if people want to reach you, where can they find you?
I'm on Twitter, Quinn Zeda, and Instagram and LinkedIn. And you can email me at quinn@conversioncrimes.com too.
Cool. Awesome. Well, best of luck with everything. I'm glad that our audience at least knows where to find you now. And I will be following along and seeing what you guys get up to next.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks. Hey, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. I hope you've walked away with a bit of new insight that'll help you in your digital entrepreneurship journey. If you enjoyed this episode and you'd like to help support the podcast, please share it with others, post about it on social media, or leave a rating and review. To learn more about businesses available for sale at Empire Flippers, click the link in the description or visit empireflippers.com/marketplace. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time.